Africa Online on YouTube. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, good evening, and or good morning, everyone, everywhere, depending on where and when you are joining us. This is the last Sunday of February, the last Sunday of Black History Month. And as usual on Africa Online, our last Sunday is always a health topic. So today we are going to be combining Black history, Black folks, and our health. Welcome to Africa Online TV. This is your co-host, Prophetess Ambassador Lisa Parks, and we welcome you here, whether you're here in the Zoom room, whether you're watching on YouTube and or Facebook. We're so glad that you stopped by to know what it is that we're talking about for the Africans on the continent and those of us who are in the diaspora. Now, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to my co-host, Professor Tazong. How's it down here in your neck of the woods?
Not too bad. We're approaching the 60s, but it's still cold out there. To get out there, satisfying the challenges, this will be done.
Well, part of those challenges is you're freezing, and we didn't get any of that, what you said.
I don't know what is happening.
Yeah, I think it may be windy, and I believe, the wind blows the signal around, because I had trouble logging on. I've been kicked out 3 times already. So we're going to do the best we can, and we're going to continue on.
Okay. That being said, are you getting me now? Am I still breaking up? Okay, thank you very much. It is, as you already said, Sunday, the 23rd day of February in this 2025, the year 2025. And it is the 54th day of this year 2025. And it is also the 7th day, the February 20 is the Sunday, 2025 week. It is the 65th day. 5 is going to spread us here. Establishment sector.
So we cannot hear you. Niason, we cannot hear you. Dr. Crosby or Dr. B, can you guys hear Niason? All right, Dr. B, go ahead.
Hear him either. We can't hear him either.
Okay, Dr. B, go ahead. Ambassador Lisa keeps getting kicked out. Okay, she's back. Let's see if we are streaming live on YouTube. So
I guess I'm going to pick up the reins for a little bit until Tazong or Ambassador Lisa can get on. We are welcoming everyone today to Africa Online Media. We're talking about Black History Month and health, which are the themes for this Sunday. And I think that there's always something that lays heavy on my mind, especially about Black History Month. And I would just like to celebrate our fellow brothers and sisters of African descent who are in the United States of America. A lot of people have benefited from their hard work and sweat, but they have been left behind. And I just want to encourage them that we are here to support you, and slowly but surely, other people will begin to understand the struggles you have faced and the sacrifices you have made. I'm speaking also to our fellow Africans in the diaspora and even in the continent, we have misunderstood our fellow brothers and sisters in America a lot. I think that for you to understand the struggle of the Black American, you have to think about an abusive relationship. Think about somebody who is just coming out of an abusive relationship, and they cannot act and think as clearly as somebody who has never been in one. And the person who has never been in one, standing from the outside and looking in, is always asking them, why can't you just pull yourself together? Why can't you just get yourself together? Well, abuse is not just a temporary thing, it has long lasting effects. And people need to heal. They need to restructure their minds before they can act the way that normal people will act. People that have not been exposed to levels and layers and generations of abuse. So I think that whenever we're approaching our fellow brothers and sisters who are based in America, we need to approach them with a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding, and a lot of empathy. Nia Song, are you ready to pick up the reins, sir? I think you're muted.
Nia Song, you are muted. Ambassador Lisa, can you unmute?
Yes.
Okay, we can hear you, Ambassador Lisa. Ambassador Lisa, please go ahead, unmute and go ahead.
Go ahead. Do you hear me now?
Okay,
We
Nia
can hear
Song,
you
we
now,
hear
Nia
you.
Song.
So you can do your editorial, then we'll go over to Ambassador Lisa. Dr. B, thank you.
You're welcome, Reverend Pat.
You're all welcome, and thank you, Dr. B, for taking control of the House. As we were saying, it is the 65th day of the year 2025, and not 65. Sorry, I got myself shot in the knee. So February 23rd, 2025 is the 54th day of the year 2025, and it is the 7th day of, well, not, why do I keep saying 7? I seem to have fallen in love with 7. There are 311 days remaining until the end of this year, 311 more days. You know, it's a normal year, 365 days. So we have 311 more days to go. February 23rd, 2025 is the 8th day, the 8th Sunday of 2025 on a 9th week calculation using American calculation. I keep repeating myself. It is the 65th day of winter. So we have 25 more days before spring knocks at our doors. We should be rejoicing because 25 days is not very long. It will soon be here before we know it. History tells us that on this day in 1848, many of us were not there, or none of us was there anyway, the French Revolution, which led to the establishment of the French Second Republic, was started. So that revolution, 1848, they had many revolutions, but this particular one changed the face of the nation. Let's leave that there and go to 1945, during World War II, and at the Battle of Iwo Jima, a group of United States Marines and a commonly forgotten U.S. Navy corpsman reached the top of Mount Suribachi on the island and were photographed raising the American flag. That Joe Rosenthal, that's the man's name, the photographer, that Joe Rosenthal's Associated Press photograph of the raising of the United States flag at the Iwo Jima Island, the 554 feet tall Mount Suribachi, has since become a famous image of the battle and the American war effort in the Pacific. That memorial is downtown Washington, D.C. If you happen to visit, please go and see it. We may not be at the summit of any hill or mountain, but on this last Sunday in the month of February, we seek to reach a better understanding of what Dr. B just said, Black health issues, especially concluding this Black History Month. We raise awareness of these issues in the hope that the powers that be, that you and I know, and that they will be able to listen and to help the community do what they are supposed to do. So we raise awareness of these issues in the hope that the powers that be, that you and I, and that the wider community, even as we withdraw from some of the very vital international organizations, we have done something to make a change in the lives of you and I. And of course, doing something means not folding our arms, but folding up our sleeves and going to work. A popular saying tells me that health is wealth, and we have come to understand that a healthy mind exists in a healthy body. And because of that, it is necessary to take good care of one's body because it is the only house in which we live. To that end, the World Health Organization, one of those organizations from which we have withdrawn, recommends eating lots of fruits and vegetables, reducing fat, sugar, and salt intake, and exercising. Unfortunately, these recommendations are hardly taken seriously in Black communities in particular, or other communities wherein poverty reigns like a canker worm. But why Black or poverty-stricken communities, you may be wondering? While research and some experts attribute this to the biological makeup of communities and or genetics, others blame it on systemic issues. That is a quote, systemic issues. These and other non-medical factors known as social determinants of health often influence health outcomes, leading experts to identify the lack of education, economic instability, and the environmental vicissitudes as the leading causes of poor health conditions in each community. Unfortunately, the poor health conditions in Black communities result not from an unwilling spirit, but rather from an unhealthy lifestyle and the practice of indulging in the art of overdoing. Doing it right, eating healthy, exercising, and being moderate in alcohol consumption will certainly bring about good health, having a good shape, and feeling good. With that being said, AfricaOnline Media Corporation this Sunday invites our health experts, Drs. B. Tazong and Dr. Ogoji, to help us navigate the contours of what we have labeled Black Health, concluding this Black History Month. To welcome the team and all of us to today's discussion, we are handing the microphone over to the chair of AfricaOnline Media Corporation, Her Royal Highness Reverend Dr. Pam Fulno.
And yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, we are having technical difficulties. It's not just me, it's both of our anchors, Mr. Songda Fankemleke and Her Excellency Ambassador Lisa Parks. But we're going to make it work. Dr. B is our in-house physician, and she stepped in. We also have Dr. Crosslin on the line. I'm streaming to YouTube directly from my phone, so which is good. So I don't have to upload this on YouTube anymore. Whatever it is, as we are speaking, I'm trying to resolve the sound issues on my laptop. But I think at this point, I just want to welcome all of you, our panelists, anchors, and our viewers around the globe, and those who are going to watch on YouTube. Thank you for your faithfulness. March will make us 9 years on the air, and everybody here is a volunteer. And in 9 years, there was only one time that we did not have a program. And I think that speaks to dedication. We have made a lot of impacts. Unfortunately, we don't have the funds to pay someone to document it, but it doesn't matter. We're not trying to get any award. The important thing is that we're transforming the lives of our people around the globe. So I'm going to go to Ambassador Lisa so she can say what she was going to say before she kept getting kicked off the program. And I'll go back on mute. And I know it'll be an amazing program because, I mean, they don't come any better than Dr. B. Tazong and Dr. Kingsley Ogoji. So I'm gonna be muted, and I'm gonna hand over to Ambassador Lisa Parks.
Actually, thank you, Reverend Pam. Actually, I had finished when I turned it over to Nia Sung. But we are very happy to welcome our very own Dr. B to our show today. And being a African woman, an African American, African living in America, doctor, she is dealing with Black health initiatives and Black health challenges. And we're excited to hear how we can improve our own health. We have to take responsibility for our own selves. We know that the majority of the time, most doctors don't care for us. They don't hear us when we're giving them our health concerns and we're telling them what's going on in our bodies. they're dismissing us as if what's going on is not real. So we're going to open up the show and look forward to hearing from Dr. B as she shares some things that we can do, that we can prevent from going to the doctors, that we can stay healthy and take care of our own self. Dr. B, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lisa. Thank God for giving us another day. Thank God for another opportunity to help others and to bring glory to his name. So I just wanted to start off with a few things before I even go to the health thing, because health is actually tied to a lot of other things. It's difficult for you to tell somebody about how to care for themselves when they're in a mentally unhealthy place. So I think, and especially dealing with Black health, we need to talk about freedom, because we are of the mindset that Black people have been freed from slavery. But there are many layers of slavery. There are many levels. There's physical, there's mental, there's emotional, there's psychological, there's spiritual. And I think maybe we were freed, in a manner of speaking, from physical slavery, but there are a whole lot of other things that we have not been freed from. And I always think about this Bob Marley song, the Redemption Song. It says, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but us can free our minds. When I listen to this guy, it's so powerful. The more you think about the words, the more powerful the sound. Nobody can set you free unless you want to be free, and unless you come to the understanding that you're not completely free. And I think this is a tool that I use with a lot of my patients, because people come in thinking that they're free, and I said, but why do you keep doing these things? So for example, let me go directly to something like health, like food, right? I had a patient come in once, a Black lady. She was diabetic. When I first met her, she was doing okay, and then over time she just kept getting worse. She kept gaining more weight. Her blood sugars were out of whack, and that came with all the side effects. Her vision was beginning to get more blurry. She was beginning to have more neuropathy, that's the aches and the pains. She was beginning to have more issues with her stomach, which is diabetic gastroparesis. And she wanted me to fix it as a doctor. And I told her that, ma'am, I can't fix a problem that you're actively feeding into. We need you to do your part so that I can do my part effectively. There's no amount of medication I can give you that will offset the behavior pattern you're engaged in. And so she kept saying, well, I eat. And so I said, give me an example of what you eat. And when she walked into the office, that office we had, they used to keep a lot of candy there. And so she walked in, she knew fully well she was diabetic, but what did she do? She grabbed a ton, not even one, just to say, okay, let me just satisfy my craving. She grabbed a ton of the candies and she was just chugging them down. And I looked at the woman and I said, what's going on here? And then we talked about, I asked her, I said, I just saw what you're eating. Is this what you do regularly? She's like, yeah. And then I asked her, tell me a little bit about your meal. And she told me. And she said, well, this is what Black folk eat. And I'm like, ma'am, that is not what Black folk eat. I don't know where that came from. I said, I'm a Black folk straight off the continent, okay? So if you want to get original information about what Black folk eat from the continent, I think I can tell you something. This is not how we eat. When I grew up, I didn't see people eating like this. And I said, what you need to understand is that this is what Black folk in America had to eat in order to survive. This is what they had to eat in. They were slaves. When you're a slave, you don't have too many options. You don't have too many choices. You make do with what you have. And now that you're no longer a slave physically, you need to stop being a slave mentally. You cannot keep eating the things that your grandparents were eating because they didn't have options. You have options now. You have to do better. My point is that this thing of freedom, you have to acknowledge it from every angle. And that part of freedom is understanding times and seasons in life. I'm going to give a very simple way of explaining it. So, for example, during the winter, we have to dress warm. You have your winter coat and everything. During the summer, you don't need that winter coat anymore. If you saw somebody in the middle of summer wearing a winter coat, you know something is completely off. They're mismatching the tools that they need for each season. During a season of survival, you use your survival tools. During a season of plenty, you go to your tools of refreshment. So when when our Black ancestors were brought here and they were subjected to all the dehumanizing things that they were subjected to, that included access to food and just to good quality of life. They did not have that. Even going to hospitals, that was just, who did you go to see? You didn't have anybody. You had to make do with what you had in your community. But now that we're saying that we're free, why are we still behaving like people who don't have options? That comes to food. That comes to getting to being knowledgeable. That comes to getting the appropriate medical care when you need it. That comes with participating in things that are going to help the community. Stop counting yourself out and saying that's not what Black folk do. That is not. That is what Black folk under siege do. Normal Black folk who are free and who are exercising their God-given freedom make sure that they live the best life that God has given them in every circumstance. If it's a season of adjustment, you adjust. If it's a season of plenty, you live with comfort. If it's a season of survival, you live with that in mind. And so we need to move with the seasons, and that includes mental, emotional, psychological, physical, and spiritual freedom. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Dr. B, for that introduction. So yes, before we can jump into our physical health, we've got to deal with that mental and that mind, that understanding in our mind. Once we change our mindsets, then the physical can come along. Thank you. I really appreciate that introduction. Because most of us don't think like that. As she said, one patient came in, knows she's a diabetic, grabs a handful of cookies. I was at a dinner yesterday, and once they brought the dessert out, which was cookies and brownies, a young lady at my table who knows she's a diabetic, already walking on a cane, balance is unstable. She goes to the table and comes back with 4 cookies and 4 brownies. And I'm like, what are you doing? You can't eat that. I just took it from her. I didn't know her that well, but I just took it from her. I said, you can't have this. You just sat here and told us you were diabetic. You don't have a good balance. You're falling all over the place, and you're going to sit here and try. Well, I was going to take it. You mean I can't take it and share it with other people? No, you're not. Because you're not going to share it. You're going to eat it. So when we have these issues, and then we want to run to our doctor and want a pill, which is poisons anyway, because you think you're taking it for one thing, and then you turn around, it's got side effects that are affecting other things. So we've got to be one another's keeper. We got to be our brother's keeper in these areas. And I know that I kind of handled that a little difficultly, not so nice yesterday. But I'm thinking, you're sitting here telling us about wanting to get off medicine and you're diabetic, but you got all these cookies. One cookie, you probably shouldn't even have that. So it is. We've got to change our mindset concerning how we eat. And as Dr. B said, the things that our grandparents eat or ate, we don't have to eat anymore because we're not in that survival mode. We can choose better choices. We can spend a couple extra dollars and get the organic, as opposed to getting what is on sale and just eating it and think that we're eating food, because most of our food is not food anymore. So, Dr. Gloria, welcome. It's good to see you.
Hi.
Your thoughts on Black health, and especially about our mindset concerning our own health.
Oh, well, I understand where you all are coming from, Dr. B, and you, Ambassador Lisa, and Professor Niasan, for we all got our fingers crossed, hoping that the health of people in our communities will get better. And I know for me personally, I certainly want my health to get better. So I can understand you wanting the young lady to get better. I was just laughing because when you took her cookies.
I took the bowl right, I snatched it right out of her hands. I was like, oh, caught myself. Lord, geez, I shouldn't have done that. But
that was hilarious. I was just laughing. But yeah, I was just thinking, maybe people, I'll just say we eat cookies and things and brownies because we probably don't think 1 or 2 are going to help or hurt anything. So I don't know. That's a question for Dr. B. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Yes. So
I'm going to respond to that. You're right that I think that again is part of freedom, where freedom comes at a price. Freedom comes with knowledge, like true freedom. For you to embrace and keep your freedom, you have to be knowledgeable. And you're right that little things may not count, but eventually they add up. It's the little foxes that ruin the vines. if you are knowledgeable, you can navigate those things with wisdom. So, for example, we don't want people to stop living because they're diabetic or they have heart disease, but we want them to become really wise. For example, if you want to have that cookie, you can say, okay, I know that I'm diabetic. I know I shouldn't have cookie, but I really have a craving. I'm going to get this piece of cookie and eat a tiny slice, and I'll eat it mindfully. So instead of me gobbling it, I'm going to cut a little bite and just eat it and just savor it and tell myself, oh, this tastes so good. That way I satisfy the craving without abusing my body and without violating, my health. And so I think that we have to strike that peaceful balance, but that means you have to become knowledgeable. And another thing, for example, with diabetics that I tell them, if you really want to become good at taking care of your blood sugars, you need to kind of dedicate a time when you're going to do aggressive blood sugar monitoring. Back in the day, it was very difficult because the strips were expensive. But nowadays, you can get strips are not that expensive. You can go into Walmart or any of these places and get a good number of strips for not too much money, And I think that's an investment that is worthwhile in your health because people spend that money on cigarettes and drinks. They spend it on nice clothes. You can invest even $100 in your health, even for a 1 month period. You can do that. You're worth all of that and more. And the reason I tell people that is that until you get to know what you're doing, you're not going to make changes. So what I encourage people to do, for example, again with diabetes, is to say, hey, if you're going to eat this, I want you to start monitoring your blood sugars. And what I tell people, for that, maybe 2 weeks to a month, do aggressive blood sugar monitoring. That's about 6 times a day. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Some people are worried about the pain. A lot of times when your blood sugar is checked in the hospital, it's very painful because they use the deep and sharp needles. You can get needles that are comfort pricks that do not hurt you half as much, so that you can check it and not feel like somebody's stabbing you every time they check your blood sugars. So the way to do that now with those kind of patients is to say, check your blood sugar first thing in the morning and then 2 hours after breakfast. That's already 2 times. Before lunch and 2 hours after lunch. Before dinner and 2 hours after dinner. That's already 6 times. That tells you exactly what's happening, because what a lot of people tell you is that, oh, this little bit doesn't really affect me. But when they start checking their blood sugars, they will see exactly what that thing did to their blood sugar. And at that point, they're gonna come to the realization that I can't do this anymore. And they may start making adjustments. So instead of having this much, you can say, I'll just have a tiny bit so that I still satisfy my craving without messing up my blood sugars. Because when your blood sugars go up, every time your blood sugars spike, you have active inflammation happening in your body. So I think people getting to understand what's happening to them makes them push beyond the emotional aspect of eating, because we are very emotional eaters. We eat for fun, we eat when we are upset, we eat when we are happy, we eat, we are very emotional eating. And you have to start connecting your decision. You have to start disconnecting from the emotions so that you can make logical decisions about what you're eating and what it is doing to you. And a lot of people know these things. When they eat certain things, their bodies react in certain ways and they just ignore it. Your body tells you exactly what it likes and what it doesn't like. And we need to start listening to our bodies and respecting our bodies. And, I think we also have to get to the place where we realize, you know what? I say I love myself, but I'm being very abusive. My body doesn't tolerate this. Why am I consistently exposing my body to it? Can you imagine if your child went somewhere and they're being abused? Are you going to let your child keep going there? Or if you were and the person kept abusing you, you're going to find ways to withdraw from that person. So it's the same thing with the foods that we eat. There are things that we eat, and I'm guilty of that too, where this is going to bother me, and you go ahead and eat it. And you want somebody to fix it, and nobody can fix that. The only person who can fix that problem is you, and you have to become cognizant. You have to become sensitive to how your body behaves and to what your body approves of and doesn't approve of. And usually I push the ball back in the patient's court because they want me to fix a problem that they're actively fueling, and I can't do that. It's going to be disingenuous of me to tell them that I can fix that problem. It's a problem that they can fix. They have the power and the ability to fix it. And I always put the power back in the hands of the people that have the issues.
That's a very powerful, putting it back in the hands of the individual, because like I said, we have the ultimate responsibility for our bodies, for our health. So we need to know where we are making these mistakes. We can't be responsible for them if we don't acknowledge, and we can't acknowledge them if we don't know that they're there. So we need to really, especially that emotional eating aspect. Why are we eating? Why are we eating this particular food at this particular time? Is it that I'm depressed? Is it because I'm happy? Of course, when you go to a wedding, you don't want to go to a wedding and act like you're on a diet. You know, you want to reserve that time. I like to say, you know what, maybe I won't eat this, this, and this because I know at the wedding there's going to be this, this, and I want to be able to enjoy myself and eat some of everything. Now, I don't have a diabetic issue, but Dr. B, is it safe to assume that even if you're not diabetic, that we should be monitoring our blood sugars?
To be honest with you, ma'am, you know, medicine is very defective. I hate to say that, but it is defective because we don't really know good numbers for non-diabetics. So yes, if you're concerned, but instead of torturing yourself, if you want to do it just because you're curious, that is fine.
Okay.
Insurance will not pay for it. You have to buy your stuff yourself. But good news, strips are pretty cheap to buy now. Again, Walmart and other places have it at a decent price.
Right.
$20 will get you about 50 strips, you know. So there's nothing wrong if you're curious. I mean, you know, that's how people invent and discover things. But I think the bigger thing is making the right choices. And the way I compare it, the thing I compare it to is like friendships, right? So if your child had a bunch of friends and you knew all of these friends personally and you knew that they were good kids, you wouldn't worry who your child is hanging out with. If they say, Mom, I'm with so and so person, you're like, fine, so and so person finds, you know, because you know that they are with good people, they're in good company. But if you don't know who your children's friends are, and every time they call somebody's name, you're kind of concerned because you don't know what's going on. So it's the same thing with foods. If you keep yourself in company of good food, a lot of times you may have to tweak one or two things here, but you don't spend so much time worrying about what you're eating. If you go with a more whole food, plant-based nutrition, lots of vegetables, some fruits, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, those tend to be anti-inflammatory, you know, so they're less likely to raise your blood sugar, they're less likely to wreak havoc in your system, and they're less likely to cause inflammation. But when you're going with a lot of processed foods and a lot of the things that we enjoy eating out here, yes, you're going to have a lot of dysfunction because your body knows exactly what it should have and what it should not have.
Yes. Same thing for, as you were saying, you know, these treatments are inexpensive nowadays. Yes, maybe insurance will not cover if you're not diabetic, but what will it hurt to go get a finger stick and some strips and just know what your blood sugar, even your blood pressure? You can buy these blood pressure cuffs now at Walmart and CVS. You don't have to know the stethoscope and be able to hear the beat. Go get the wrist one and kind of get an idea. And I take my blood pressure at least once a day, and I record it in my phone. So when there is a spike or when it's up, I can go back and think, what could I've done? What may have caused this? What did I eat? So that when you go to the doctors, you have you're armed with your own information to share with your doctors. And I say, you know, if you take your blood pressure cup and you use the one that's for the wrist, I encourage you to take it with you to the doctors the next time you go, to make sure that you're getting the same types of number. The one that he takes in the upper arm with the stethoscope, make sure those numbers are lining up. And if they're not, find out what the difference is, and is the difference correct? So you will know that while you're home doing something, you're not wasting time and you're not, you know, just having this futile exercise. Thank you, Dr. B. Nia Song.
Yeah, Dr. B, we've talked quite much about diabetes and controlling it, and or making sure that we don't have it at all. But what are other diseases that are predominant in the Black community?
So we have the metabolic syndrome. I'm going to break it down a little bit. So we have diabetes, those are the common ones, blood pressure, high blood pressure, hyperlipidemia, so all the different cholesterols and their dysfunctions. We have heart disease, which is, so these ones drive a lot of other things. They drive heart disease, they drive stroke, they drive kidney disease, they drive a lot of dementia, a lot of other things. Eye disease, again, we think more diabetic eye disease. So basically, if we're going to talk about health, the one thing that, and as we're doing more and more research into lifestyle medicine, they're just realizing the biggest driver of disease in the human body is inflammation. So if you're really going to talk about staying healthy, you want to try to make sure that you're living on a low inflammatory diet and lifestyle. It's not just diet that causes, there are many other things that cause it too, but there are things that drive inflammation in your body. If I'm going to simplify inflammation, I would call it your body on fire. So that's kind of how I think about inflammation. It's your body on fire, and you want to keep the
Your
fire
body on
down.
what? Your
On
body
fire, Fire.
fire.
Yes.
Okay, your body on fire.
That's my simple way of thinking about inflammation. I'm like, turn the heat down. Your body does not want to be on fire. Turn the heat down, because this drives a lot of health issues, including skin issues, including dementia. You find with patients that have Alzheimer's, if you keep their blood sugars under control, they're less likely to have it, and they're less likely to progress aggressively. Same thing with cancers, because a lot of cancers feed on, in pro-inflammatory states and high levels of sugars. So they're finding if you starve those cancer cells, they just die because they don't have food to eat or to use to multiply. So a lot of things that are happening in our bodies, a lot of autoimmune diseases that are driven by inflammation. If you can turn the inflammation down, a lot of times you can keep those things in check. A lot of skin issues, if you drive the inflammation down, you keep them in check. So I think that when we're talking about health, we really need to go to the root of a lot of health issues. And I think growing up in Cameroon, or whatever it is right now, I always say that because we have a war going on in Cameroon. Growing up in that part of the world, I can tell you my grandparents, they did pretty well. They never went to school. They didn't have any hospitals like that. They didn't have a lot of the education that we had. But they ate right. They did right by their bodies. And a lot of times they lived well. They lived into their 90s and all my parents were over, my grandparents were over 100 when they died. They didn't die suffering. They went out relatively peacefully. And that is a testament to how treating your body well translates into living a good life and finishing well.
Heart disease is one of those things that we suffer with in the Black community. And I understand that there are very little signs. Is it blood pressure? I'm sorry, it may be blood pressure, that there are very little signs. If we don't know that these things are happening, how should we, for lack of a better term, how should we fight these situations?
So that brings me back to routine healthcare monitoring. And that's again something that a lot of Black people do not like to, do not want to, or are not able to do. That takes me back to the social ecological model of disease and systems things, where you have the personal level, you have the interpersonal level, institutional, community, and policy. So that's a whole different thing. But for example, Black people not being aware and not taking care of themselves, there are different layers. Sometimes it's just people just saying, I am not going to the doctor. I do not trust doctors. Look at what they did to the Tuskegee Airmen. Look at what they always do to Black people. They always screw them up in the hospital. I remember during COVID, there was a family where they lost, I think, 3 people at the same time from COVID. And it's because they only went to the hospital when they were like almost at their last breath. Because in Louisiana, the cliche, and the woman said it, is that when you go to the hospital, you're as good as dead. So you might, if you can do anything to not go to the hospital, you're better off. And this is because of years and years of systemic injustices. And then now people are passing down this information. And so there's this lack of trust, and it's justified. But still, we have to find ways to work around this. Maybe find a doctor that you trust, or find somebody that, and that's why we also push for having a balance of providers. You want to have more people of different backgrounds so that they can help each other out. So there's that, where people just will not do it because they don't trust the system. They're caught up in a lot of conspiracies. They're caught up in a lot of suspicions, and maybe something happened to some member of their family and they cannot get past it, which is understandable. But again, they're paying a price with their own health. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that, there's a lot of poverty in the Black community. Again, part of it is the history we have here. Part of it is policy. And part of it is this thing where we're not yet completely free of our entanglements with oppression. And so that's part of it. And then the other part is lack of access, where people just don't have the ability to go see the doctor, or they can go, but they don't have money to follow up on this. They may be able to see a primary care doctor, but they cannot follow up on specialty care because they don't have money, or they don't have insurance, or they don't have access. So those are all different layers. So I always say, before we raise an alarm, it's always nice to kind of work with people through these layers to dig in and find out where they're struggling the most. And if it's just a mentality thing, we can slowly work our way through that. Trust takes a while to build. You try to connect them with people that will treat them well, and try to show them a better way. It's like somebody who has been abused. They don't trust people until they find somebody who rebuilds their trust, and then they start engaging more, you know. So that's one thing. And then the other part is just lack of access. That is something that for the most part, we cannot control because it's something that has to be done from policy level. And that, again, we see what's happening right now. We see all the challenges that are going on right now. So we have to find a way forward because nobody's coming to our rescue here. We have to find a way forward. We have to look for ways to help people in our community, and not just our community, help every human being, because the truth is that we're all God's children. And I'm trying to not focus on just one set of people, because that's exactly how this nonsense started. People focusing on one type of people. The only difference is the pigmentation, and nobody chose their pigmentation. So I don't even understand why people make a big deal about it. I don't understand why people even made this become an issue, something that nobody had any control over.
But Dr. B, is poverty not one of the main reasons why people run away from the hospitals or from going to the doctors and so on?
Not
They
necessarily.
fear that they will be charged so much money they don't have.
Not necessarily. Poverty may be part of it, but another part of it is people just, Song, I'm telling you, it's amazing how much people distrust each other nowadays. People don't trust each other. That's the reason people carry guns around. Like, why do you need an assault weapon when you're living among fellow people? Why? This is not a war zone. Why do you need this? Why do you need to build an arsenal? A lot of people just don't trust other people. And so they don't trust anybody. And then, God forbid, they went somewhere and somebody didn't treat them well or something bad happened. They now make it a blanket policy. I hate all these people. I hate this. I hate those people. And I hate these people. And I'm just like, well, one person made a mistake, or one person, and sometimes people make an honest mistake, and sometimes it's intentional, but you cannot use that to judge everybody. Everybody didn't do that to you. Are you, and a lot of people coming to me and they say, I'm a good person. I'm like, you think you're the only good person in this world? There are many good people, but even good people make mistakes, and if you do that, find ways to correct it. I think that's why, again, a lot of what I push is kindness, is kindness, because we don't know where people are coming from. We don't know what they're dealing with. We don't know what demons they're fighting. And we try to be kind, because sometimes that's the only way you're going to get through to some people.
Yeah, you met grandparents. No doubt the hospital.
Hello, Song, your line is breaking.
Again, let me see. Okay, let me see what is going on. Yes. Yeah, okay.
So, we can hear you. You muted yourself.
Yes. Is that okay now?
Yes.
Yes.
Apparently, no. I don't know. It must be some network problem. Yeah, Dr. B, I've lost my train of thought. I was just wondering why, your parents survived, your grandparents survived in their day. I know that is a different environment. But these days, why don't we, even with the little effort we make, survive? Because something starts small, and before we realize it, it's a pandemic. Why does this happen?
Because the world has opened up. Our grandparents most of them didn't get into planes. Most of them didn't fly across the country. Things moved slowly. News moved slowly because they didn't have all of these things we have now. It's a global world. In 1 hour, in 1 day, you can take COVID from one part of the world to the other. That's just one flight away. And you can meet a ton of people. When you go to the airport or you go to one of these places, you meet a bunch of people right there. That's how diseases are spread, especially airborne diseases. We go to restaurants. You don't know how many people have gone through there. Our grandparents didn't have to do all of those things. They didn't live through those things. You had a community, and if something spread, you usually hit that little community in which you were, because they didn't connect as quickly with other communities as we do now. Same thing with news and so on. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then also, we just had different exposures back then. Things were much different back then. People just didn't have as much connectivity. They didn't have as much exposure. And if you go back home and look, like I'm looking, even thinking about my grandparents, they live straight off the ground. So that, again, is one of the keys to good health. I think, going back, and for me, lifestyle medicine makes so much sense, because we have the 6 pillars, which is nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and social connection. And I can give you evidence of that in all the things that our grandparents did. So, for example, social connections. If you go to a lot of African communities, there's a lot of social connectivity. it's hard for you to go through stuff by yourself. When somebody dies, everybody shows up. In a neighborhood, when somebody is down or some family member dies, it becomes like a neighborhood problem. Everybody shows up. They say, this person so and so died. I have to go see them. I cannot just not show up. So that is social connectivity. It picks people up, When people are going through things, other human beings come and lift them up. Because there are times when we just cannot take it. And you need people around you to hold you up while you're struggling until you can put your feet back on the ground. So that's one of them. Stress management. What we do a lot. People they connect a lot. There's a lot of dancing. There's a lot of interpersonal connections. People, like with children, they play around with each other a lot. I know things are changing with all the wars and everything happening now, but growing up, we always had that. So those things help to relieve your stress. For example, when you're really feeling down, you go and have a nice dance, you sit and talk with other people, your stress level, your frustration level comes down.
Yeah.
Sometimes the other person even tells you, listen, you're not the only one going through this. Don't worry, it's going to pass. I went through it, I survived. You will survive too. But can you imagine if you're going through stuff and you can't talk to one person, you don't see a ray of hope, and there's nobody who can tell you that there's a better tomorrow coming? You just go with the despair. And then another thing again is exercise. Those people never went to the gym, but I don't know if you look back then, you hardly saw people that were obese. Because one, they were always physically active, they were always moving around. They were always. I know a lot of those people that into their old age, they are still doing a lot of things that they were doing from in their 40s and 50s. Because as long as you keep active and you're always moving around, you're actively burning calories. But that ties into now with nutrition. They didn't eat, we don't, all the snacking and junk that we eat now, they didn't eat those things, all these processed foods. They ate straight off the farm. Vegetables, if you harvested some starch food, which is also again whole grain with most of the fiber in there, and you threw it in the fire and you roasted it and you ate it. You didn't do a lot of things to it before eating it. So right there, and because you're eating food that is high in fiber, it satisfies you faster. So you don't have to eat a whole lot to be satisfied, because fiber not only helps with slowing down the digestive process and allowing our bodies to properly process, it also acts as it's bulky. So part of how we feel full is from volume. So fiber provides the bulk that gives you that sense of fullness early. And so that's another thing. And then sleep. If you go back home, a lot of times, 9 o'clock, 10 p.m., people are asleep. All the social stuff, social media and stuff, lights, they keep people awake. And then the LEDs is another thing. So if you look back at that time, they were living in a different time. They had different exposures. And they were actively practicing good lifestyle medicine, even though they never went to school for it. They just went with the flow of nature.
Yeah,
May I jump
agree
in
with you
real
there
quick?
because I went back.
May I-
Yeah, I went back to Cameroon in 2015, and I realized that people in my village, a lot of people were becoming obese. I was wondering, I said, but in my day, that was not happening. Then I realized that everywhere they want to go, they want to hop on a bike or get into a car and so on and so forth. We didn't have those things in our day.
May I jump in?
Lack of exercise is
May I jump in? Can
Sure,
you guys
go
hear
ahead.
me? Yeah, Dr. B, thank you so much. I think sensitization and education is very important. It's key. It's like what we're doing here. I know a lot of people, they say fried chicken is our favorite food, Black people. Ambassador, at least I don't know the last time you made fried chicken, but with air fryer came out a few years ago, and the prices are very affordable right now. I just made some mackerel fish in the air fryer, and it came out oily, which is telling you that the skin of the fish has a lot of oil. We all know that fat is stored underneath the skin, even in the human body, So why is it that our people continue to make the batter with flour and dip the chicken inside and fry it in oil instead of using the air fryer? Those people can't afford the air fryer, using the oven. But when we're growing up in Africa, we never put anything on top of it. We fry the chicken like that. But here people mix, they put eggs, they put sugar, they put flour, some even put milk in the batter. And then some they have this cornmeal that they mix with some spices, some dry spices and sprinkle. All these extra calories and nutrient deficient stuff that they put on the chicken before frying it in deep oil. 1 cup of any oil averages 2,000 calories, whether it's 1,800 calories or 2,000, it's around right there. And you have to walk, like 5 miles 5 days to burn that amount of calories from eating chicken, fried chicken that is loaded. So education is very important. We need to reset our mindset because there's no reason for us to continue to eat. I know in the past, because of what our foreparents went through, especially the diaspora, they had to do all that to fill up the stomach of the children. Just like the reason why I remember when I came here in the 80s, the mid 80s, oxtail hotels used to throw away oxtails. But Jamaicans have made oxtail, right now, oxtail is what, $10.99 a pound? It's not cheap. But back then, a lot of people didn't eat oxtail. And even the intestines of chicken, is that what they call chitlins, Ambassador Lisa?
Chitlins is the intestines of a pig.
Okay, pig, pig,
from the chicken, you get the gizzard to the liver and things like that.
No, pigs. But the reason why our forefathers ate those things was because most of the time that was what was available for protein. But it's a delicacy now. So I'm saying that there are air fryers, we can do grilled chicken. Why do our people continue to eat this fried chicken that is loaded with all this flour and eggs and some of the milk? They add all these calories on it and they eat the skin of the chicken. I don't eat chicken skin, even hen chicken skin. I don't eat it. So, Dr. B, I want you to weigh in. I know, sometimes people are resistant to change or it's a culture, but that particular culture is killing our people. You can eat the chicken without the skin. I eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, I don't know why they stopped making the grilled chicken. Oprah made the grilled chicken very popular. I used to like it, but a lot of them don't have it anymore. What is wrong with taking off the skin before eating the chicken? The chicken is delicious without the skin. So I want Dr. B to weigh in, then Dr. Crossley, Ambassador Lisa, Nia Song. I think, is it Dr. Ogoji that, no, Dr. Ogoji eat chicken. There's somebody who doesn't eat chicken. I don't remember who that is, but it's a Black person. So I want everybody to weigh in on why we find the need to continue with these bad habits or dangerous habits, because this chicken is still delicious, the flesh itself, not just the skin. Let me mute.
Well, Reverend Pam, as they say, old habits die hard. And also, I'm going to be honest, right? It's just that after you walk away from those things, you see the difference. Fat, sugar, and salt taste pretty good. Enough research has been done, and that's why the agriculture companies here, the food companies here, they hone in on those, because they've done tests, and they see that when you stimulate those taste buds, you get better response. So and when you're walking someone, they fry something, it smells pretty good. But when you stop eating them and you eat them, they just like, I can taste oil all the way down my throat now. When something's very oily, I just can't take it. But you have to walk away from it before you get it. It's just like people who smoke. When they're actively smoking, they think cigarettes are fine. But you talk to a lot of smokers, after they quit, they're like, ooh, I cannot stand the smell of cigarettes. So I think a lot of people have to, get to realize what this thing is doing to them, and then also see that there's a better way, because people never give up something that they like for something that is not that they don't like, or at least something comparable. You have to show them that there's a nice way to make this chicken and still make it taste good. And I think the other thing is helping people to get to a place where they value their bodies and their health enough, and they realize that I'm actively sabotaging my own health, even though this thing tastes good, but is it really that worth it for me anymore? And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and commitment to get people to that place of self-love. Because even people that love themselves, they still do things that they should not be doing. Some people eat well, but they're drinking. Some people don't drink, but they're having unscrupulous sex. And some people have this and that. So people struggle with different things. And it's part of the human brokenness. And healing, to me, it comes in all the different layers, where you try to get people to a place where they come to that realization that this is not worth it anymore, and I'm actually doing myself a disfavor or a disservice. But it takes a lot. I mean, it's hard to fight somebody's experience. If somebody has eaten this chicken and it tastes good, it's hard for you to fight that. So you have to come up with other options. You have to help them see, and you have to be patient and kind. And for example, one thing that I would say, like, I try to do now in my own house is, if you come to visit me, you're probably going to eat healthy food. Sometimes I'll make a few things off here, but so that way you have an experience. For example, when we ate healthy when growing up in Cameroon, but coming here, we kind of went off a little bit. And the first time I went to a lifestyle medicine conference, I was having a meltdown because I was like, I eat a lot of vegetables. I love my fruits and veggies, but I'm not vegan. I'm not there yet. And I was like, how am I going to go vegan for all these days? Because when I go to this place, that's all they're going to serve. And trust me, that experience put me in a place where I realized I can be vegan and I'll be perfectly fine. If I go somewhere and they cook food that I don't like, I'm going to go all vegan and I have no problem with it. But I had to have the full dose of that experience. And I realized even in our African communities and so on, there are foods that we cook that don't need meat in them, you know? And so what you want to do is cook more of those things so you don't really feel like you're missing the meat. Cook more of the healthy things. That way you're not really missing out on anything. And then every once in a while you can say, okay, I'll add this to my food. Because as you rightly said, the reason why we push for whole food plant-based nutrition, and if you look at the food plate, if you look at the food plate, the food plate, the new food plate at mygov.org, one quarter of that plate is vegetables. The other quarter is fruits. That's already 50%. The other quarter is I'm trying to remember all the things on there. I think the other part is whole grains. Okay, so there's vegetables, there's fruits, there's whole grains. That's already 75% of your plate. It's actually, if you look at it, it's more like 80%. The remaining 20% is left for protein. And that's where you can either be vegan or not. And even when you're going to eat animal protein, the push is for lean protein. So, all those things that have a ton of oil in them, my goodness, your body, they taste good, they smell good, but your body does not appreciate it one bit. So you're looking at it, 80% of what you're supposed to eat should be coming from a plant. That's why we push for plant-based nutrition. And then 20%, that's where the meat fit in. But now we flip the plate so that 80% of what we eat in our plate is the meat. And then just 20% is whatever kind of junk they call vegetable they put in there, loaded with butter and cheese and so on and salt. So I think, I get to show people those pictures because I tell them, I said, you will never hear on TV, they'll say whole food plant-based. The government will never say it because they'll get sued till next century. But they have it hidden in plain sight. I say, look at the food plate. What does it tell you? It tells you that about 80% of what you're supposed to be eating is supposed to be plant-based. Now, the remaining 20%, that's up to you what you want to do with it. But the more you push towards plant-based, the better off you are, the better off your health would be. Because that's the reason why we focus on plant-based. Plants do not have cholesterol. The plant has a cellular cell wall, but the human cell has cholesterol in it. That's part of what keeps our cells functional. So we cannot not have oil, but we need just a little bit to keep our cells functional and in the right state. But when you start having excess, that's when it starts building up in your arteries and it becomes pro-inflammatory. It also builds up in your organs, like what they call a fatty liver now. Fatty liver, when you're obese, know that your liver is fatty too, most likely. And fatty liver is one of the things that causes insulin resistance and eventually could also cause liver cirrhosis. So these things, I think from people realizing that, man, this food I'm eating is really going to cause me a whole lot of pain down the road. And I have a power to change it and nobody else can make that happen but me. You put the burden on people and over time, they're going to have to accept that burden and they'll decide if they want to do something about it or not. And sometimes for some people, as I say, until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, a lot of people refuse to change because change is uncomfortable.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Dr. B. We are at the top of the hour and we're going to go to our anthem. We encourage you right now to go get a drink of water, come back, and we're going to be finishing up the next half an hour of our show after the anthem, after our announcements.
Okay, see you on the other side.
Yes, I'm still trying to fix my computer audio.
Okay. Thank you.
Africa. Oh no. Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come Sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africa Online Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey, Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does, to identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. If we believe prosperity for Africans, if we believe medical facilitation for Africans, if we believe stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africa Online Miracle Jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africans own Africa.
Amen. No more lies. No more lies. As we are ending up this Black History Month, no more lies. Africa own Africa. And we need to rise up, get back in our place, and go home. Nia Song is not here. Reverend Pam, what is our topic for next month?
It's going to be a hot topic. We're going to be doing our marriage series in March. So that's what we're gonna be doing. So we're gonna talk about dating and before you say I do. You know, the marriage series that we normally do. We're gonna be doing that in March. Ambassador Lisa, can you hear me? Ambassador Lisa, can you hear me?
Not really. You're breaking up.
I'm saying we're gonna be doing our marriage series in March. Marriage. You want me to put in the chat box?
You said our marriage series during Women's History Month. Okay.
No. Yeah, we're gonna be doing marriage series. Starting with before you say I do.
Okay. So next month we will be moving on to the marriage series. Before I say I do.
Before you say, not I. Before you say I do.
Wonderful.
Yep. Okay. All right, Niason is back. So let me go back on mute. Like I said, my audio is acting up. Still trying to fix it.
Africa Online TV's sister organization, Africa's Brain Bank, will be hosting its sixth annual charity ball and annual summit. There is time now. You can get ready. It will be August 28th through September 1st. It will be Labor Day weekend, and it will be in the city that never sleeps, in New York City. So details are following. We want you to stay tuned. Come visit Africa's Brain Bank. That's AFRICAS, Africa's brainbank.org to find out more information. There should be a link. Excuse me. Excuse me, where you'll be able to register, you'll be able to start paying. Want you to visit that place for more updates and know what exciting things are in store for that weekend. But we don't want you to wait to the last minute. Get your gown ready for the red carpet. On Saturday, there are some dynamic speakers coming in from the continent and locally that will be speaking during the summit. Volunteers are needed, and you are needed. So we'll see you Labor Day weekend in the city that never sleeps, New York.
Ambassador, just real quick, the ticket link is on the chat box. And if we're forwarding it, let's forward the save the date plus the ticket link. The website is still being updated, but the ticket link is open. I just put it in the chat box. If you click it, can you click it, Ambassador Lisa, and share it? Since I'm not able to, let me see. I don't know if I'm able to share or not.
I don't.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me see if I can share because they need to know they can get it directly from the ticket link. They don't even need to go. The website is still being updated, but here's can you guys see my screen?
Yes. It's buffering.
It's buffering?
Yes.
It's still not showing?
Not yet. Oh, something's showing yet. Yeah, okay. Africa's Brain Bank 6th Annual Summit and Charity Ball, New York City.
Yeah, that's the ticket link. The ticket link is in the chat box. They should just click the link and go to the link.
It's showing.
Yes, and we have 185 days. It gives you a summary of the entire event and the ticket levels and the sponsorships. You know, Dr. Crossley, we need you to bring all those your heavyweight people. You know, we need sponsors. We have several Black students. We're actually going to have a lot of Black students from the New York area, you know, come to the event because they're the future. We are working with a New Futures Foundation, Queen Mother Dolores Blakely in Harlem's organization for that. If Ambassador Lisa wants to bring some Black students from Philadelphia, they are welcome. We need sponsors for them, but please click the ticket link. By next week or the next few days, the website will be updated, but you can go straight to the ticket link in the chat box. And we'll also be honoring well, let me not say it because I have not informed one of the people on this broadcast that they will be honored on that day. So I'll announce it next time because I don't want to announce it and just drop that on them on this program. So, but we're going to be honoring two of our regulars on this program on that day with the U.S. Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Back to you, Ambassador Lisa.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. So we encourage you out there on YouTube and Facebook land, get ready, get yourself gowned ready, get yourself red carpet ready. More importantly, buy that ticket and bring somebody with you. Amen. We're, like she said, we're looking for sponsors. We need sponsors. We need people who will sponsor students to come and be a part of this Black Excellence as Africa's Brain Bank puts on its 6th annual charity ball and summit. So, Nia-san, we actually got about 10 more minutes to discuss Black health. And Dr. B, I want to ask you about a lot of people should have insurance and they may not have insurance at this time, and may find that even with the Affordable Care Act, insurance is still not affordable for them. What can they do? What can we be doing at this point, especially in the area of our food? What seasonings can we be using, if you know any, what seasons we can be using that will counter some of these diseases that are affecting us as African American and Black people of color?
Ambassador Lisa, I'm going to try to recommend a couple of websites because there's so much good information. There's just not enough time to give it here.
Wonderful.
I think, how can I send this link so that people can go and access them? I want people to have access to this information because that's the only way forward. One of the reasons why I also love lifestyle medicine is because people have the power and the ability to make those changes without necessarily over depending on the government, like how you sleep and being active. And those are things that you can really make up your mind to do without going and begging for the government for opportunities and resources.
Right.
And
well, to answer your question, you have co-host permission. So you can post it on the chat, the link, you can post it in the chat room. And I think that is Dr. Ogoji who just joined. But before, so Dr. B, you can post the link on the chat box so everybody who listens to it can get it. Ambassador Lisa, hold on, go ahead.
Everybody cannot get it because they're not in the chat room. If they're watching on YouTube, they don't have access to the chat box.
I'm live streaming.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah, I'm live streaming on YouTube, so they will see it there. So yes, I'm live streaming. Remember, I'm doing it on my phone. The phone was not connecting to Facebook, which is good. So, but Dr. B, put it in the chat box.
Yes.
And then just before we go, Ambassador Lisa, if I go back to Dr. B, I also want to remind our people about the medications that they are taking, because a lot of times our people are on what they call polypharmacy. There are so many medications. They go to multiple doctors. The doctors don't know what the other person prescribed, and they are having side effects, and they prescribe medications for the side effects without changing the original cause, the original medication that is causing that side effects, and the cycle continue. It's a dangerous cycle. I'm telling you, I've seen this multiple times when I do audits in pharmacies. Patients are taking, because there's a program called MTN, Medication Therapy Management, which I'm certified in, and even medication safety. You'll be surprised. I'm not talking about even just elderly people, even educated people. They are taking medicines that they should not be taking. And especially in the hospitals, the things that happen with therapy. So this is our airtime, but because we need to hear from Dr. Ogoji too, so we may have to extend by 5 or 10 minutes, but I just wanted to mention that because that's key. Everybody needs to look at their medicine cabinet, talk to their pharmacist. You don't have to pay to consult a pharmacist, and they are in your community. So take it down, ask them the questions. It's important. All right, over to you, Dr. B, but you can post that in the chat box.
Okay, I'm typing up the chat, the links right now to post. You can go in there. There's a wall of information, and it's reliable information. These are things that are certified by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And again, the key is in your hands. The truth is that with everything happening right now, I can't tell anybody what's going to happen with insurance and so on. That's something that has to be addressed from the political standpoint, because a lot of people voted against their own interests. And I can't fix that. What we can fix is people making better decisions for themselves at this point. Everybody that has the ability to, if you have a brain and a mind and a willingness to do it, you should definitely engage. Because sometimes when you have a bad system, the only way to protect yourself is to reduce the level of interaction you have with the system. So if you're worried about health and so on, start doing more things that are more likely to keep you healthy, and they are proven to work. And I'm going to go back and say this is really it's God's way of being faithful to us. If you do things God's way, you're most likely going to end up have good outcomes. Yes, you may have challenges here and there, but you're always better off doing things the right way. And so eating properly, again, whole food plant-based nutrition is the key. 80% of what is on your plate should be whole food plant-based, not processed foods, not junk stuff, not meat and fish and stuff like that. Those should fit in the 20%. You need enough sleep. Everybody differs, but the average is about 7 to 9. And then for younger children, they need a little bit more. And you need to exercise. Again, the recommendation is about 50 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. But you need to make sure you're doing different kinds of exercises. So yes, walking is amazing, but you can do some weights. You don't have to go to the gym and buy weights. You can just hold heavy cans in your house and move them back and forth. That counts. You want to also do flexibility and so on. Aerobic flexibility and muscle toning, those are important. Stress management. That is another conversation for another day, but stress is a killer. And as soon as you can acknowledge that, you're one step closer to the solution. Now, there are things that we cannot control. You don't invest your time in things that you cannot control. Invest your time in things that you can control. There are stressors we have, worrying about what other people are doing, trying to control other people. Those are all things that will kill you. Stress will burn you out. So watch what you're doing and ask yourself, is this within my control? Should I be taking care of it? If it's out of my control, I can't do anything about it. I'm going to leave it alone. And if you're a Christian and you believe in God, you pray about it and move forward. Social connections, nobody was meant to be an island. There are some people who think they are islands, but that's one of the most important factors in health. You know, we are meant to connect to other human beings. Connect with good people, it helps you. And then avoidance of risky substances, alcohol intake, cigarettes, drugs, you know what I'm talking about. All those things we're putting in our bodies that should not be in our bodies, those go a long way to help us too. So if we're looking for ways to help ourselves, again, look at the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. I'm going to put the ACLM website on there too. Always look under patient resources. You'll see stuff there. Let me post those things right now while I hand over the mic.
Thank you. So before Dr. Goji comes on, I wanted to say this before we went to our break. I believe you called it social interaction. And as you were saying, I was thinking about social healing. I have a sister on the continent who was having some very bad heart. She had cancer, and she was having some very bad heart issues that looked like it could have taken a turn for the worse. And this one time, she ended up going to the ER with her heart. And the doctor said, there is no medicine. There's nothing that we can really do for you. He said, you need a friend. That was his prescription. You need a friend. And the Lord just prompted me to give her a call that evening. I think it was the next day or 2 days afterward. The Lord prompted me to call her, and we began to talk. And she began to share what was going on at home. When she went back to the doctor, of course, we finished, but we talked all night. It was all night for me, all morning for her. And when she went back to the doctor, the issue that she was having with her heart was gone. And the doctor, when he did the test, he said, you must have found a friend. And I find that our sisters and brothers on the continent, they don't really have that societal freedom that we have here in America. We can talk to a total stranger about very personal, intimate things, but they don't. So those things just stay locked up and they stay bottled inside, and it manifests itself in health challenges. But she has not had an issue with her heart since, and I'm talking at least 10 years. She has not had an issue with her heart since she and I had an opportunity to talk, and she was able to unload, and she felt safe because, one, I was so far away. Wasn't like it was going to come out the next day. You know, it's not going to come up in church. And we were so far away from each other, and she felt comfortable enough to be able to, and trusted me enough, knowing our friendship had been long, that I wasn't going to go back and call her husband and say any of these things. And that conversation, that need to connect, that social interaction, what I call that social healing, actually healed my sister's heart. Because the doctors have not they've not found any trace of what was going on before, because we were able to talk and she was able to open up and be able to share. So being able to connect to your tribe, and I'm not talking about just your tribe, but being able to connect to those sisters, especially us women, we so easily to do it. It's our brothers that may have a little trouble connecting with brothers because they don't have that kind of, camaraderie and friendship that women have. We connect easily. But we need to encourage our men to be able to have that safe place as well, because that will alleviate some of their health challenges when they know that they have a brother that they can talk to and pour out to, and someone that's going to end up praying with them. And we can see miracles happen in the Black community as far as our health is concerned.
Ambassador Lisa, I endorse what you say 1,000%. And Dr. B, I want to just say a couple of things. A lot of the times, some of the men, they stay in what they call man caves. That man cave is their isolation, their safe spot. There's no other human being there. That doesn't really help in this situation, what we're talking about. But then on the flip side of that is the only time I don't have high blood pressure, my blood pressure doesn't even hit 120/80. The only time my blood pressure ever went up was with someone that I trusted in our organization who plagiarize or try to plagiarize what we do. And this is somebody that had been with us for a while. I was so shocked and stunned that I allowed but that's never going to happen again. I was disappointed in myself that I allowed my blood pressure to go up that high when I realized that this person did what they as God will have it, they were trying to send a text to somebody else and they accidentally sent it to our group, our management group. That's how I saw it. But so I'm saying that it's good to surround ourselves with people, socialize, but we should always have our guards also, because an outsider cannot betray you. It has to be somebody very close who can betray you. I was watching a documentary last night on how Gaddafi was betrayed by the one president that he trusted with his life on the continent. So I just wanted to mention that even while we are doing that socialization, we need to be careful, the people that we bring into our inner circle. And we will definitely need to hear from Dr. Goji. Anchors, please, let's extend the show by 5 or 10 minutes. But it's very important what we are sharing here. I think Dr. Goji has the mic next.
Hello.
Yes.
Are you getting us?
Can you hear me very well?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So, health challenges. I mean, I've listened a lot. We've said everything. One thing about healthcare is our mind is our biggest enemy. So if your mind is, if you're stressful, thinking about death all the time, thinking about being sick all the time, you'll be sick. So first step in being healthy is
That's true.
Having a positive attitude to life.
Correct.
Things that you cannot control, you push them at the side. Things you can control, you take the balabu. And believe that you are made in the image of God. God wants you to survive, and you're going to survive and live your life. And this goes together with things that you do every day. Exercise is the biggest medicine in life. Exercise. If you have back pain, you need to go out and stretch the back. Exercise, the back pain will go away. If you have headache, you go out and walk around the beach and look around things, headache will go away. Sleep. If you don't sleep well, your body will you're gonna generate a lot of a lot of toxins in your body to affect your organs of the body. So good sleep, by that I mean go to bed same time each day, wake up same time each day, go a long way to keep you healthy. That's sleep. And then social interaction. The good example is most of us bring our parents and grandparents, our parents from Africa to come to the US to come and stay with us and babysit. If those parents come here to America and spend 2-3 years, by the time they go back home, they are dying because they come here, they are cut off of their natural environment where they interact with their peers and family members and meetings and jangi. All those things make life a living. Lock yourself in one room and stay just you and your nuclear family is not healthy at all. They will talk about medication and routine checkup. If you don't look for problem, you can't find it. So in as much as you have to stay positive, also go to the doctor from time to time to make sure your blood pressure is good, make sure your cholesterol is good, make sure that your kidneys are functioning well, make sure you're well hydrated, and make sure you're doing the right thing. So having a clean slate of health is important because, you know, I saw this patient that came to see me once just for checkup. Her liver enzymes were so terrible. Her liver was dying.
Wow.
She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. She doesn't do drugs. She doesn't do anything. But her liver is dying.
Wow.
After checking all through, we found out that this lady was taking some multivitamin, which from this over-the-counter multivitamin.
Oh, no.
That was hepatotoxic. That was killing them.
Oh, Lord.
So it's only after I said, what are you taking? Your liver is bad. You don't smoke. You never drank. You don't take any medications. Are you taking any supplement? Oh, yeah, I'm taking a multivitamin. Can I see them?
Oh,
It's
no.
hepatotoxic. She stopped it within a month or two. Her liver came back to life.
Wow.
Praise God.
Going to the doctor, talk to the doctors and know exactly what's going on. Just check, you know, your liver, your kidney, your heart, and those things is important to live healthy. Of course, if you do all these things and then your dental health, people ignore the teeth. Although thank God for Africa, we don't have, I won't say that, but most of us in Africa don't have dental problem. I won't say everybody. Why I say this is because, you know, a lot of sugar we eat in America and causes a lot of things. My dad is 80 years old. He was here about 4 years ago. He has all his teeth, you know. And if he was here, they will have done a lot of things and damaged his teeth. So, but again, if you brush your teeth every day, in Africa, we brush our teeth daily with chewing stick. We use a toothpick to do our own flossing. Those things are, they are just those who do without thinking. So if you do the basic thing, brush your teeth, you floss, which is recommended, and eat healthy and minimize sugar, your teeth will be healthy. But trust me, a bad oral hygiene can be a root of downfall.
Yep.
You can develop bad dental infection that could go to your brain and kill you.
And
so
heart.
taking care of your dental health is also very, very important. So I think we said it all. Self-care is important. Taking care of your body is important. Your body belongs to you and it belongs to God, and God gave you the right to take care of the body. If you don't take care of your body, you are actually sinning against God. Because you take care of your body to live healthy. I rest my case.
Okay, can I just drop a surprise announcement, Ambassador Lisa and Tazong, please? Because I was going to hold this, but I don't think they will hold it against me. I've informed a couple of the people, but I've not informed one person. But in New York, we're going to be honoring Tazong, Dr. Goji, and Dr. Tazong with the U.S. Presidential Lifetime Achievement Awards. Ambassador Lisa already got the award because we're going to honor her too, but she already got it. So it's for the work that they've put in this, the volunteer work they've put in AfricaOnline, our sister organization, and other organizations, because they also volunteer for other organizations. But I just wanted them to know that we'll be honoring them in New York City, Labor Day weekend.
Thank you very much. That's shocking, you know, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you much. I wish it was another day. Okay. All right, Ambassador Lisa.
Round of the table.
Oh, Dr. Grosslin, she's been very quiet today.
Hi there.
Am I doing the round of yet?
Yes, Dr. Grosslin spoke earlier as a last word. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Grosslin, your last word as we wrap up.
Sure. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again, Dr. Goji, and Her Excellency, Reverend Dr. Pam. Glad to see you're up and moving around. And
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. For my final thoughts, I just think that diabetes has been around for a very long time, and I'm hoping it will go away. Those are my final words. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We turn to Ambassador Lisa, your last word.
Thank you, Professor Tazong. So Do all you can to take care of you. As Dr. Ogoji said, we only have one body. It is the only body that God has given us. We can get a heart transplant, a liver transplant, kidneys, but you cannot get a body transplant. So take care of this body and it will take care of you. Feed the body and it will correct itself 11 times faster than it gets sick. But that means you got to feed it the right things. Stay away from the processed foods, the white flours, white sugar, white bread, all those things that are not good for you, those bleached and processed things. I travel almost 45 minutes just to get grapes with seeds in it. Just to get grapes and oranges that have seeds in it, I have to drive almost 45 minutes to a produce store to get what my body requires. So sometimes you've got to go out of the way. Don't just grab the first thing and say that you're getting fruits and vegetables. Investigate, where is these fruits and vegetables coming from? Are they organic? Where is the seed in it? Because the scripture says that everything that produces after its own kind has got seed in it. So if it's producing and it has no seed, what is it? Because people always ask me, why are you looking so hard for seeded grapes? Why? What's the difference? I give them that scripture and it opens their minds and their eyes and it's like, wow, if it don't have seed, what exactly is it?
That's true.
I ain't trying to put it in my body, so I go the distance. I add that cinnamon to my coffee and my tea because it keeps my blood pressure regulated. I add turmeric to everything. It keeps inflammation down and out of my body so that I can still move almost like a 30, 40-year-old. So investigate, use those websites that Dr. B has given us. And my final thought is that AfricaOnline TV is here every Sunday from 4 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, discussing and talking about topics that benefit you on the continent and those of us in the diaspora as well. So follow us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and join us every Sunday for dynamic conversations that benefit us as African Americans and Africans on the continent. Back to you, Nia-san.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ogoji, your last word.
I've said it all. Just take care of your body and be positive and interact with reasonable human beings because
reasonable human beings. Yes.
That's right.
reasonable human beings and hold no grudge. Today at church they talk about loving your neighbor as much as yourself. And the priest says you should love the way God loves. That means you love somebody unconditionally, even your enemy. You don't have to go be with them, but just love them,
That's
and
true.
you'll be happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogoji. Our chair, Dr. Pam.
Okay, so Dr. B is gonna go last. This again, it's just amazing what we do here. Next month will make us 9 years. Hopefully, we'll get some intern students because we really need to push this. We need some help with our social media. More people need to get all this vital information we've been sharing on the air for 9 years. Last time when we with, I think it was last month, and when Sister Ruth was on. My last word I said, be kind to your future self. Ask yourself the stuff that you are doing, putting in your mouth today and on your body today. Would your 90-year-old self thank you or hate you or blame you for what they will be experiencing at 90 or 80? So when we think about that, I personally know that even at 110, I'll still be wearing high heels and still doing what I'm doing, to transform lives. So let's think about what we are doing today because it's definitely going to impact who we are tomorrow. We need to be careful because we can't blame anybody. We're the ones putting it in our mouths. Dr. B, I ate puff and beans today, but guess what? I didn't eat more than 6 of them. So I'm proud of myself. And it was hot puff that my younger brother was frying.
Amazing.
In the past, I would have eaten like 12, so my body reacts to carbohydrates, but I ate it, I will not sit up and make the puff myself, even though I know how to do it. But I'm saying that I'm taking baby steps towards stuff like that. And we need to do baby steps because not everybody can do cold turkey. So I want to thank you all. We'll be at this particular program will stream on YouTube. Hopefully I'll fix my laptop issue, but we are here every Sunday, as Ambassador Lisa said, from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I want to encourage everybody to buy their ticket. Share the link, share the link, share the link. New York City will be amazing. Thank you so much. And at Nia Song, I think we have Dr. B.
Yeah, Dr. B has to give her last word before we call it a date. Dr. B?
Well, thank you so much, everyone on this panel. Thank you for making time to help our fellow brothers and sisters with empowering them with knowledge to help themselves. I just want to throw one last thing out there about nutrition, so that as we go about our day, we should think about what we're actually doing. I think growing up, a lot of us were familiar with what we call kwashiorkor. Those the
Yes,
malnourished children that look very skinny, and everything about them
big
was just a little
tummy.
off, correct. And one day I went somewhere and somebody said something that just kind of hit me really hard. Malnutrition is not just kwashiorkor. Obesity is also malnutrition, because if your body is fed properly, it should not become too big or too small. So just a word out there. So every time you think about malnutrition basically means you're not eating the right kinds of things, or you're not eating properly. And when you do that, it shows in your body in different ways, either as an excess or as too little. So again, we have the power. God has given us the power to help ourselves, because He wanted us to be able to reflect Him in every way, including the lives that we live. And so I pray that all of us walk away taking something from this to help ourselves stay healthy, so that we can do the work that God has assigned us to do while we are here. God's blessings to you, and have a wonderful rest of the year.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much, Dr. B. As we wrap up our discussion today, we should remember that working on our health, that is, staying healthy, helps us to achieve our dreams and success. And of course, when we work on our health, we are prouder than we ever were when we walk down that street. And as we go, we remember that next Sunday will be the 2nd of March, will be the first Sunday in the month of March, and we will be beginning our marriage series. Remember, you say, many on this screen have already said, before I do, so before you do, what should you have in mind? That being said, let us remember, as someone has said, that health is like money, and we never know its worth until we lose it. That said, let's take a holiday, a break, just for the month of February, 5 days to go in the month of February, and we will soon be in March. But don't forget, it will be time to spring forward next month. So whatever you do, remember that when March comes, we spring forward. Have a good day and a good week. Stay blessed.
Thank you. And we're going to be matching